Today, the president made what are widely called unusual, perhaps unprecedented remarks in the modern era. And I'm going to show you exactly what he said and why military veterans and many other experts on a nonpartisan basis say this is one of those inflection points you need to confront.
Okay, so we're watching a full-blown constitutional crisis unfold in real time. Democrats are. This is the moment American democracy warned us about, the one they wrote about in history books, the one that separates republics from dictatorships. Democratic lawmakers are now openly calling Donald Trump unfit for office. They're invoking the 25th Amendment. They're planning impeachment the moment they win back the House in 2026. And Trump's response, always been able to work through our differences calmly as friends, and we will continue to do that. I want to assure you this morning that that is still the case.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart.
He's refusing to resign under any circumstances. He's declared war on Congress. He's ordered the Justice Department to investigate and indict sitting Democratic lawmakers. He's calling members of Congress traitors publicly. And he's making it absolutely clear that if Democrats try to remove him, he will fight every step of the way using every tool at his disposal. This is not political theater. This is the executive branch weaponizing federal law enforcement against the legislative branch. This is a president threatening to jail his political opponents for criticizing him. This is authoritarianism happening in real time on American soil.
Nevertheless, Trump called the video, quote, seditious behavior at the highest level, unquote, said the lawmakers, quote, should be arrested and put on trial, unquote. And here is the repost calling for the lawmakers to be hanged. House Speaker Mike Johnson, by way of defense of Trump, said the Democrats told troops to, quote, disobey orders, unquote. You can judge that line of defense for yourself.
Here is what triggered this constitutional crisis. Democrats in Congress have been raising alarms about Trump's mental fitness, about his decision-making, about behavior they describe as increasingly erratic and dangerous. The breaking point was reporting about Trump's Greenland annexation scheme. According to multiple sources, Trump became obsessively fixated on taking over Greenland after he didn't win a Nobel Peace Prize. He genuinely believed he deserved it. He got furious when it didn't happen, and his solution was to show the world by annexing a sovereign territory by force if necessary.
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And and by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too, I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land.
That is the level of delusion we are dealing with. A president willing to invade an ally because his feelings were hurt over an award. When this reporting went public, multiple Democrats said exactly what they were thinking. Senator Ed Markey called for invoking the 25th Amendment. Representatives Jasmine Crockett and Eric Swalwell echoed that call. Other Democrats began openly discussing impeachment, laying the groundwork for what happens if they retake the House in November 2026.
Here in New York, we're about to hear an historic formal announcement of articles of impeachment accusing President Trump of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic chairman of 5 House committees were all set to reveal the charges on Capitol Hill. Now, this is only the 4th time in history that Congress is acting to potentially remove a president of the United States from office.
The conversation is getting louder. More Democrats are joining. More are saying Trump needs to go, that he is too dangerous to remain in control of nuclear weapons and the military. And Trump's response has been to double down. In private meetings with House Republicans, Trump has made his position unmistakable. He knows that if Democrats win the House in 2026, they will impeach him. He told Republicans directly, based on reporting from those meetings, that he is not going voluntarily. He will fight every single step of the way. He is treating the 2026 midterms as a referendum on whether he finishes his term or whether Democrats succeed in removing him.
I rise to thank the 140 persons who on yesterday voted to support H-Res 939. House Resolution 939. This resolution, House 939, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors.
and he is making it clear to Republicans that they better hold the House because if Democrats win, everything changes. But Trump is not just playing defense. He has launched an all-out offensive against Congress. He has ordered his Justice Department to investigate Democratic lawmakers, not just investigate, indict. The Washington Post reported on February 13th that Trump's DOJ has moved to indict 6 Democratic members of Congress, 6 sitting lawmakers for what crime?
We did not expect to start tonight with Article 92 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. We are, because a debate, if you can call it that, broke out today over what it means, and calls by the President of the United States for charges of treason against 6 Democratic members of Congress. Treason, as you might know, is punishable by death. President Trump amplified a Truth Social post calling for the lawmakers' death by hanging.
For urging military officials and federal employees to resist illegal orders from Trump, for saying that if Trump orders something unconstitutional, people should not follow those orders. That is the crime. Political speech criticism urging people to follow the Constitution instead of following Trump. This is unprecedented in American history. No Justice Department has ever tried to criminalize this kind of political speech. Lawmakers have always been able to criticize the president, to call for resistance to illegal orders that is protected by the First Amendment. That is core political speech. But Trump does not see it that way. He treats criticism as treason, and he is using the Justice Department as his personal enforcement arm to punish his critics. Here is how insane this has become. Some of these Democratic lawmakers only found out Trump wanted them indicted when they read about it in the press. Internal DOJ discussions leaked to reporters. The Justice Department did not even have the courtesy to inform them directly. They learned they were targets through the media. That is how corrupt and chaotic this process has become. Trump has been calling these lawmakers traitors publicly. He has been saying they should face criminal consequences. He has been making thinly veiled threats about what should happen to traitors, and his supporters are listening. Some are making direct threats of violence against these lawmakers. A climate of fear and intimidation is being deliberately created, and Trump is encouraging it because he wants Congress scared. He wants Democrats afraid to criticize him, afraid to investigate him, afraid to impeach him. He is using fear and prosecution threats as weapons against the legislative branch. That is textbook authoritarianism. Now, here is where it gets even more complicated. Republicans in Congress are starting to get nervous privately. Some of them see where this is going. They see Trump attacking Congress as an institution. They see him using DOJ to target lawmakers. And they are realizing something terrifying. If Trump can do this to Democrats today, he could do it to Republicans tomorrow. Any Republican who crosses him, who votes against him, who criticizes him, could become the next target, could face DOJ investigations, could face federal charges. So there is real anxiety in the GOP, quiet concerns, private conversations about whether Trump has gone too far. But publicly, Republicans are mostly staying silent because they are scared of Trump's base, scared of being primered, scared of being the next one targeted, so they enable him through their silence. Let us talk about the 25th Amendment because understanding it explains why Democrats are discussing it and why Trump is fighting so aggressively. The 25th Amendment was ratified in 1967 after the Kennedy assassination. Section 4 allows for removing a president who is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office, physically or mentally incapacitated. Here is how it works. The vice president and a majority of the cabinet declare in writing that the president is unable to serve. The vice president immediately becomes acting president. The president can challenge this by sending his own letter saying he is fine. Then the vice president and cabinet have 4 days to respond. Then Congress votes. If 2/3 of both the House and Senate agree the president is unable to serve, the vice president remains acting president permanently. Democrats are discussing this because they genuinely believe Trump is mentally unfit. The Greenland Nobel Prize episode is Exhibit A. A president willing to invade an ally because he did not get an award is not rational. That is not strategic thinking. That is a man acting on personal grievance and delusions of grandeur. Democrats say this is dangerous. This is someone who should not have control over nuclear weapons, someone who needs to be removed for national safety. But here is the problem. The 25th Amendment requires the vice president to initiate the process. Trump's vice president is J.D. Vance. He is completely loyal to Trump. He owes his entire career to Trump. He is never going to declare Trump unfit. So the 25th Amendment is a non-starter, which is why Democrats are also focused on impeachment. Impeachment does not require the vice president. It requires a House majority to impeach and a 2/3 Senate majority to convict and remove. If Democrats win the House in November 2026, they will have the votes to impeach. Whether they can get 2/3 of the Senate to convict is another question. But they can at least force a trial, force Trump to defend himself, force Republicans to go on record voting to keep him in office. Now let us talk about what these indictments actually mean. The specific charges Trump's DOJ is pursuing are chilling. They are looking at charging Democratic lawmakers with inciting insubordination in the military. The theory is that by urging military officers to disobey illegal orders, these lawmakers are undermining military discipline and national security. But that theory is absurd on its face. Military officers are required to disobey illegal orders. That is established law since the Nuremberg trials. Following orders is not a defense for committing war crimes or constitutional violations. So when lawmakers say if the president orders something illegal, do not follow it, they are not inciting insubordination. They are urging people to follow the law and the Constitution. But Trump's DOJ is twisting this into a crime. The 6 lawmakers being targeted are all vocal Trump critics, all people who have been leading the charge to hold him accountable, to investigate him, to potentially impeach him. This is clearly retaliatory, clearly political, clearly designed to intimidate, to send a message to every other lawmaker that if you cross Trump, if you speak out against him, you could be next. You could face federal charges. You could go to prison. And that message is working. Some Democrats are getting quieter. Some are backing off their criticism because they are scared. When lawmakers are scared to speak out against the president, democracy is in serious trouble. Here is what this all means. Trump has made clear he will never resign. No matter what comes out, no matter what he is accused of, no matter how many people call for his removal, he is staying. And he is daring anyone to try to force him out. That is a dangerous mentality. It means he sees himself as entitled to power, as deserving to be president regardless of what he does. That is not democracy. In democracy, leaders serve at the consent of the governed and leave when they lose that consent. Trump does not accept that the 25th Amendment will not work because Vance will not cooperate. Impeachment might happen if Democrats win the House, but conviction in the Senate is unlikely, and weaponizing the Justice Department against lawmakers is authoritarianism. Full stop. This is what dictators do. They use law enforcement to jail political opponents, to silence critics, to intimidate anyone who might challenge their power. And Trump is doing exactly that. Republican silence is enabling this. If Republicans in Congress stood up and said, "You cannot indict lawmakers for political speech," this would stop. But they are not doing that. They are staying quiet, either because they support what Trump is doing or because they are too scared to oppose him. Either way, their silence is complicity. They are allowing authoritarianism to take root. For the 6 Democratic lawmakers being targeted, this is terrifying. They are facing potential federal prosecution for doing their jobs, for exercising their constitutional duty to check presidential power. Even if the charges ultimately get dismissed, the process is the punishment, the legal fees, the stress, the threats from Trump supporters. All of it is designed to break them, to make them stop criticizing Trump. For Congress as an institution, this is a direct attack on separation of powers. The executive branch is supposed to be checked by the legislative branch. But if the president can use DOJ to prosecute lawmakers who check him, that balance is destroyed. Congress becomes subservient to the president, unable to effectively oversee or investigate. That fundamentally changes our system of government for democracy. This is existential because if Trump can refuse to resign, weaponize the Justice Department, intimidate lawmakers, and face no consequences, then we are not a democracy anymore. We are an autocracy with democratic trappings. Elections will not matter if the person in power refuses to leave and uses state power to crush opposition. The only thing that can stop it is voters. Voters deciding in November 2026 that this is unacceptable, that Trump and his enablers need to be removed from power, that democracy matters more than partisan loyalty. The next few months will determine whether America remains a republic or whether we cross the line into something else entirely.